Following a series of protests in the European capital cities, on Sunday afternoon the 9th of February 2014, the International Organization to Preserve Human Rights in Iran held another protest by the Brandenburg Gate in the city of Berlin. The participants of this protest had masks of Mir Hossein Mousavi, Mehdi Karoubi, and Zahra Rahnavard on their faces and demanded the release of political and religious prisoners in Iran. While the protest was being held, Dr. Sayed Mustafa Azmayesh, the leading member of the International Organization to Preserve Human Rights in Iran, stated the following about the goals and aspirations of all the participants.
The head of the International Organization to Preserve Human Rights in Iran, Dr. Sayed Mustafa Azmayesh, who also attended this demonstration and was interviewed by Shahram Mirian from Radio Farda, made the following statements. Dr. Azmayesh, the head of the International Organization to Preserve Human Rights in Iran. The main mission of this demonstration is to raise the international awareness about the critical and dire condition of political and religious prisoners in Iran, such as dervishes, human rights activists and lawyers, and specifically Zahra Rahnavard, Mir Hossein Mousavi and Mehdi Karoubi, who have been illegally under house arrest for the past 3 years. Their situations have not been clarified, and their legal case has not been judged fairly. For this reason, it is extremely important for people in the world to know about their inhumane situation. Shahram Mirian from Radio Farda asks, now that you are participating in this demonstration, what are the conditions of this imprisoned and sick dervishes? Dr. Azmayesh, the head of the International Organization to Preserve Human Rights in Iran, answers, it has been a long time since dervishes have been kept in Tehran and Shiraz prisons, and their critical health conditions have been ignored by the authorities. Hamid Reza Moradi, Sarvestani, and Mostafa Daneshju, lawyers and human rights activists, require urgent surgeries due to being imprisoned for a long time without any health care. However, this has been denied by the judge Salavati. Also, Kasra Nouri's health condition in Shiraz prison is very critical. Families and relatives of these prisoners are under great psychological pressure, and this situation is continuing. Shahram Mirian from Radio Farda asks, are families of these prisoners allowed to visit their loved ones at least once a week? Dr. Azmayesh answers, the prison authorities use this method of not permitting families to visit their loved ones as a torture and are constantly putting them under pressure. These families are being told that if they were to make a complaint against the authorities or to make interviews with any media, they will be forbidden from visitations, and even phone calls with their loved ones will not be allowed. By this method, the prisoners and their families are under constant pressure. For these reasons, it is not clear whether families of prisoners are allowed to visit their loved ones or not. Therefore, the members of the International Organization to Preserve Human Rights in Iran will continue to perform such demonstrations in various cities of Europe, Canada, and USA, in order to keep up awareness against this injustice and against the human rights violations in Iran.
Freiheit für die Derwische! Freiheit für die Derwische! Liberté pour les derviches! Liberté pour les derviches! Liberté pour les derviches! Freiheit für Rahnavard! Freiheit für Rahnavard! Freiheit für die Derwische! Freiheit für die Derwische! Freiheit für die Derwische! Freiheit für Mousavi! Freiheit für Karoubi! Freiheit für Rahnavard!
Fatemeh Motamed Arya, a TV presenter and an actress in theatre and cinema, stated the following regarding the fact that she did not have permission to work in the past 4 years. She stated that, during the past 4 years, every film or theatre director who signed an agreement with me has failed to receive the permit to produce their content. They were told that the permit for this project would not be issued because Mrs. Motamed Arya is involved in this project. During the past week, the human rights defenders wrote a statement which was signed by Shirin Ebadi, the head of this organization and a Nobel Peace Prize winner, that the house arrest of Zahra Rahnavard, Mehdi Karoubi and Mir Hossein Mousavi, 3 leaders of the protests in 2010, is against the law. During the past week, Naimeh Doustdar stated that research shows that female circumcision is being carried out in the following 6 provinces of Iran: Kurdistan, West Azerbaijan, Kermanshah, Ilam, Lorestan, and Hormuzgan. Female circumcision in Iran is mainly being carried out on girls who are younger than 10 years of age.
Eddin Malatsi, a Baluchi and a political prisoner in the central prison of Zahedan for 4 years, has been deprived of receiving any medical treatments despite suffering from heart, stomach, and nerve problems. The 2 Sunni prisoners, Hamed Ahmadi and Jamshid Deghani, who ended their hunger strike after 75 days, are now suffering from physical problems such as bone, knee, and stomach aches, and are also having severe difficulties eating and digesting. On Sunday the 9th of February, intelligence and security officers attacked the Kurdish United Front meeting, and the meeting was prevented from continuing. The leading members of the Kurdish United Front, while condemning the Intelligence Bureau's actions, also announced that these actions would not stop their activities. On Monday the 10th of February, 25 family members of Sunni prisoners who were sentenced to death gathered outside of the presidential palace to meet Ali Younesi. These families, who had mostly travelled from the city of Sanandaj to Tehran, were not able to meet Ali Younesi and were told that he was in a meeting. It is worth mentioning that nearly 40 Sunni prisoners sentenced to death are currently in Evin, Qais al-Hassar and Rajai Shah prisons.
On the 6th of January 2014, the representative of Kamyab sugar mill factory workers reported the delay of 4 to 11 months in the payment of wages and uncertainty with regards to workers' rights. The work and wage situation remains uncertain for the 150 employees, and these are believed to be due to the lack of production resources in the factory. On Wednesday afternoon, the 5th of February 2014, Maran's Intelligence Ministry forces searched the house of Habibeh Madadzadeh, who is a sister of 2 political prisoners who were recently released from prison. After completing their search, the Intelligence Ministry forces used their warrant to confiscate a computer, notebooks, and a photograph of a person who had died in the family. Dr. Sader Ziba Kalam was released from prison after a complaint was made to the cultural courts, as well as paying 50 million tomans towards his freedom. Sader Ziba Kalam is an author and a university professor. The General Prosecutor of Tehran has accused Mr. Ziba Kalam of committing a crime following his second letter to Hossein Shariat Madari, who is a representative of Mr. Khamenei, and in charge of Kayhan newspaper with regards to the file of 3,000 billion toman and the nuclear issues. Furthermore, on Wednesday the 5th of February 2014, dozens of individuals accused of being thugs were arrested in the north of Tehran and shown to people in Tajrish Square. The arrests were a coordinated operation by the police and various police units and Tehran's police chief. On Wednesday the 5th of February 2014, 15 prisoners from the prison of Chabahar were hanged by the justice system in Sistan and Baluchistan. Most of them were detained, accused of political and security issues. On Thursday the 6th of February 2014, 2 people accused of murder were hanged in the city of Bandar Abbas. Abdul Qasim Foladond, also known as Javad, a political prisoner in branch 350 of Evin prison, was sentenced to 18 years imprisonment and 74 lashes on charges of being a member of the MEK organization and insulting the supreme leader of Iran. Naeem Abbasi, the brother of Ghazi Abbasi, who was unofficially announced hanged to his family, was arrested on Monday the 10th of February 2014. Naeem's other brother is currently imprisoned in the Urumia prison. On Tuesday the 11th of February 2014, during the 22nd Bahman rally, a group of reformist political activists were arrested in the city of Tehran. Reports indicate that there were 55 people who were holding the posters signed by young reformers. These posters included images of Khatami Rafsanjani and Rouhani. Furthermore, it has been reported that a few foreign nationals were also arrested. However, there is currently no further information on the reason for their arrests. It is worth mentioning that during the 22nd Bahman rally, the fireworks in the center of the city resulted in 6 trees being burnt in the northwest side of Park Danishju.
Mr. Satari, head of Branch 26 of the Revolutionary Court in Tehran, despite continuous reports by the Medical Commission on the treatment of the sick prisoner Hussein Malaki, continues to sabotage the process. On Saturday the 8th of February, the Kurdish political prisoner Mohammad Amin Agushi, whose wife has been in a coma for the past 2 months, has been refused temporary release, even though according to his relatives the doctors have said she is very close to dying. On Sunday the 9th of February, prison authorities imposed new illegal restrictions and repeatedly implemented them on the political prisoners. Hassan Tafa, an 86-year-old prisoner who is suffering from leukemia following an extended medical leave, has returned to Raja Shah prison. Mohammad Pur Shajari, reportedly due to the neglect of the authorities on his previous heart problem, refused tests on his kidney problem. On Tuesday the 11th of February, Mohammad Dimevar, the deputy of Iran's Elementary Education Department, announced that 39,000 students have been stopped from education this year. According to the news, Mohammad Banazadeh, Amir Qazri, and Saleh Kohandel political prisoners in Ward 12 of Raji Shah Prison in Karaj, despite poor physical conditions, have been deprived of receiving appropriate treatments.
Iran. People, Culture, Ideology. Lecture given by Helmut Gabel on Friday 14th of February at the opening of Amnesty International's exhibition Iran's Heart Beats, Human Rights Defenders in Iran, in Wolfenbüttel, city of the renowned philosopher Wilhelm Georg Leibniz, author of Nathan the Wise. Irene Albrecht, head of Amnesty International section in Wolfenbüttel, Germany, introduced into the exhibition and stressed the importance of human rights work concerning Iran. The audience acknowledged the exhibition and finally the lecture on Iran's people, culture and ideology started. Mr. Gabel introduced into Iran's history of a long fight for self-determination. He mentioned the continuous attempts of fundamentalist religious forces to raise a religious government and how secular forces tried to prevent this, and went for more democracy and self-determination in Iran. He touched on the constitutional revolution and Fazlollah Nouri in the wake of the 20th century. He referred to Ayatollah Kashani and his contribution to bring to fall Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh during the 50s, and how later one of Kashani's students, Ayatollah Khomeini, finally achieved the goal to form a religious government in the name of Islam in 1979. Khomeini finally established a new governmental system called IOPHRI, with the help of diverse fundamentalist groups, elimination of moderate and highly esteemed experts on Islam, and finally extinction of political rivaling groups. Mr. Gabel mentioned the role and function inside of the regime of the brothers Larijani and that of Mehdi Taeb, who is a close ally to Mr. Khamenei, and who is the head of the Ammar Strategic Base, an organization established to fight the so-called soft war against Iran, and who is deeply involved in the grip of Fardid-inspired fundamentalists on the country nowadays. Finally, the lecture was about the reasons and the methods of persecutions of religious minorities like Baha'i, Sunnis, Christians and mystics, where some examples clarified about the slander campaigns and brutal attacks that even nowadays with President Rouhani's government still continue. In the end, Helmut Gabel explained how to support the civil society in Iran with constant attention in the West to the human rights violations of the regime and its villains.